Okay, this is the last ship from the new Timeless Legacy bundle. This is the Warden Temporal Multi-Mission Cruiser, so let's get into it. So the Warden is a multi-mission temporal cruiser, which I was really interested in because for ages now, I have been saying we need more multi-mission cruisers in the game. There are so few in the game currently, and I really like the idea of these ships. They're a little more science heavy, and they have a hangar bay, which is something I always like on a ship. The hangar bay more so than the science seating, but the science seating is nice too because uncon triggers. But yeah, this is a type of ship that I really like, and well, I wish I liked this one more, but its stats are not what I had hoped it would be. But first, let's talk about the other stuff that comes on this thing. It does have various costumes like the other two ships in the bundle. It's got a an original series skin, the Ranger, which recently got a revamp, but is not actually a new skin for Star Trek Online. This was actually a ship that was released way back for the Agents of Yesteryear expansion. This was released as originally released as a Tier 5 ship, and then the T6 version was the Paladin, which this one does not come with the Paladin skin, but you can use the Paladin skin on this thing if you do own the original Tier 6 Paladin. So you will be able to use that. I'm getting ahead of myself now. So yeah, here's the this will allow you to use the Ranger right out of the box if you like that skin, and it was recently revamped about a month ago. So yeah, it's looking much nicer than it was before. The next skin is the Ranger 2, which is a TMP era version of the skin, and then there is the Warden class, which is meant to be the Stowe era version of the Ranger here, which also looks pretty cool. And like I said, the ship can use the Paladin skin, but you need to own the original Tier 6 Paladin in order to have access to it. Now let's move into the stats. It's got a 1.25 hull modifier and a 1.15 shield modifier, which are okay. Now they are particularly high for a cruiser, so they're kind of going for a little more of a slightly even spread on this one, I guess. It's got a 4-4 weapons layout, which I have my issues on, but I'll talk about a little further into this. It's got 4 device slots, which is typical for a cruiser. The bridge officer seating is Commander Engineering / Temporal, Lieutenant Commander Tactical / Temporal, Lieutenant Commander Science, Lieutenant Engineering, and Ensign Universal, which honestly isn't that bad. Normally, I would have issue with having this much engineering seating and having the specialization seat on one of the tactical on the tactical seats, especially with so little tactical seating as it is. But because the temporal seat is on the commander level engineering seat, you could just fill that commander engineering seat with nothing but temporal stuff and just be done with it. Not have to worry about filling up any more temporal seating into this tactical seat too. So you can just use that all there, and that's it. I wish it did have a little bit more universal seating, but yeah, what can you do? Now, you could argue it's a good thing that this thing is double temporal because that means you're not going to have to worry about the specialization seating on your tactical seat, which means you don't have to clog up your tactical seat with temporal abilities. But at the same time, that just basically means this is a single specialization seat because you're never going to use this temporal seat. You're going to be using this temporal seat. And it would have been nice if this had a different secondary spec seat. Like if this had Intel or something, I would be pretty bummed that this was on the tactical seat. I would much rather that be on like the science or even the second engineering seat or something. But I guess it presents itself as being not a problem being double temporal. But if that were any other type of specialization on the secondary seat, then it being on the tactical seat would be kind of a letdown. Anyway, moving on. Consoles. It's got 3 tactical, 5 engineering, and 3 science. A base turn rate of 10, an impulse modifier of 0.17, and an inertia rating of 45. So not a fast ship. It's not quite as chunky as like some cruisers, but it's definitely not going to be on the speedier side of cruisers at the same time. Power buffs are +5 to weapons, +5 to shields, and +10 to aux, which is a little odd, but you know, I don't hate it. Well, I do kind of wish that +5 to shields went into the weapons as well, but yeah, like I said, can't have everything. Console we'll get into a bit later. It does have a hangar bay, which this is incorrect. It says it comes loaded with the Kodai fighters. That is not true. It came loaded with the Valkyrie fighters, which stats wise is not much of a difference because the Kodais and the Valkyries have the same stats pretty much, but that just means they're going to have different costumes. They are not going to have the Kodai. They're not going to have the Kodai fighter skin. They will have the Valkyrie fighter skin. Of the cruiser command auras, it has the weapon system efficiency aura and the shield frequency, modulation aura, which is typical for a multi-mission cruiser, and it has the standard cruiser mastery package, which gives buffs to kinetic and physical damage resistance, hull regeneration. I don't know why it just says regeneration. It should say hull regeneration. It also gives buffs to energy and radiation damage resistance and maximum hull points. And then we will get into the starship trait later. The Admiralty stats are engineering. That's not right. Engineering 30. That's not right. Hold on. These are the correct Admiralty stats for it. So it's got 56 engineering, 28 tactical, and 33 in science. And its special ability is that it ignores plus or minus engineering from events. I thought this might just be a copy paste error from one of the previous blogs, but I just checked. This is not the same stats from the Okinawa, so I don't know where these come from. Anyway, the ship itself, honestly, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad either. Honestly, I think the big letdown is here is, like with all the other ships in this bundle, is the double temporal seating. Double temporal isn't too bad. A lot of the temporal abilities are pretty useful, but the thing is, a lot of the temporal abilities are really useful on science vessels. This is not a science vessel. Yes, multi-mission cruisers are a bit more science-focused than the average cruiser, but it's still not a science vessel. It doesn't have a secondary deflector. It's not a science vessel. So a lot of that extra sciencey stuff really isn't going to be that big of a deal, especially when you have all that engineering seating. It's they're clearly wanting you to run this as like a tank, but with double temporal seating, tank is not the first thing I usually think of for temporal. The other really weird thing I find with this is that the Corolla was released with the 15th anniversary bundle, and that thing, it does have rather different bridge officer seating, and it's a battle cruiser, not a multi-mission cruiser. But it still seems weird to me that Star Trek Online would release 2 temporal cruisers with a 4-4 weapons layout back to back, because it's odd to me, and it also means I end up having a lot of the same gripes about this ship as I did with Corolla, in that all the temporal seating doesn't mesh well with the 4-4 weapons layout, especially with the some of the uncon triggers here. Like you've got the chronometric inversion field, and you've got timeline collapse, both of which only have 135-degree arcs, but you kind of want something a little wider in order to line this up with your aft weapons as well, because a beam array is only going to have a 250-degree arc. So with your forward-facing 135-degree arc temporal abilities, and this also applies to gravity well as well, if you're going to be broadsiding this, you're only going to have like a small sliver where these abilities and your aft weapons are going to be lining up, and that's annoying. That was my big problem with the Corolla, and the same applies here with the Warden. And like with the Corolla, it just makes me say the same thing about this ship. It would have been better as an intel ship. Another thing worth doing here is comparing this to the old Paladin class. This is the old Fleet Paladin, which is the original version of, or rather the fleet version of the original Tier 6 Ranger, which also had the Paladin skin on it. As you can see here, the seating is a bit different. You get more tactical seating on the old Paladin. You get a lot less engineering seating on there, and you get a little bit more universal but less science seating here. Though with this setup, honestly, I do like the Warden's setup a bit better, just because either way you're still only going to be using that engineering seat for all of your temporal stuff. So just put all your temporal stuff there on the engineering seat. Then you're probably not going to be using much of your engineering stuff here on this tactical seat. So then you're just stuck with a lot of tactical seating stuff. Yeah, you do have this universal seat, but you're probably going to be using that to make up for the lack of science on this one. Whereas this one has a good amount of science. You're going to have you got room for gravity well here, and you've got the single universal seat there, and plus all the uncon triggers you get out of temporal. You don't really have to worry so much about the science uncon triggers quite so much. So I feel like the Warden's bridge officer seating is a bit more well-rounded than the original Paladins, but at the same time, Paladin is a battle cruiser, so it's a little better in the mastery, but that means it's going to not have the hangar bay, which that's a big plus for the Warden there. And the console layout is a little different too. Basically, Warden takes that one of those tactical consoles and moves it into the science, giving it 353 instead of 452. So I feel like the Warden is a bit better in comparison to the Paladin. Like I feel like the main boost there you're getting between the two is that Warden has a hangar bay, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of players aren't going to feel like they are different enough, because again, we are dealing with 2 full temporal cruisers. I don't know, it just seems weird that they would make them so similar. Okay, let's move on to the stuff that this thing comes with. We'll start with the fighter pets, just because that's going to be the easiest thing. It came with the Valkyries. I don't know why the blog said Kodais. It did not come with Kodais. It came with the Valkyries. These Valkyries specifically. So yeah, they're just normal Valkyrie class fighters. They do have the same stats as the Kodais. So if you're wanting something different performance wise, yeah, it's not going to really make a difference here or there. But thematically speaking, I feel like it's going to depend on which version of it you're going to want to fly. Are you going to want to fly if you're flying the TMP version, you're probably going to want the Kodais. If you're flying the Stowe version, you're going to want the Valkyries. And if you're flying the TOS version, well, there is no TOS equivalent to the Valkyrie, so you're kind of out of luck there. But yeah, that's what's going on there. The console on this thing is called Expanding Sphere Generator. What it does, well, first off, the passive on this thing, whenever you receive a debuff, you can automatically cleanse that debuff and gain a small of temporary HP. This effect can only trigger once every 30 seconds, and that last part kind of ruins this this passive right here, because once every 30 seconds is just so far between each other, you may as well barely pay attention to it at all. It's not going to be at all helpful in a lot of cases, and the amount of temporary HP it gives you is so small. It's not helpful at all. So the passive is really nothing worth talking about. The click ability is called Expanding Sphere Generator. What it does is it creates an AoE radiation damage and debuff. So for 20 seconds, starting at the center of yourself, you will slowly start emitting a sphere of radiation damage that goes out to 5 kilometers over time. It'll deal a bunch of radiation damage over time to any foes within inside the sphere. They will gain -50 to shield resistance for 20 seconds upon leaving the sphere. And any small enemies caught within the sphere, so like mines, targetable torpedoes, fighters, they will be instantly vaporized. Now, honestly, in my testing of this thing, I wasn't super impressed with this. Like, for one, like putting this on a cruiser like this, it's not going to do all that well because it's radiation damage. This is the kind of thing that you're going to want to put onto an EPG build. But I tested this on an EPG build too, and I have yet to see it do more than like 15k in either ISE or HSE. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong there, but I'm not overly impressed with this thing. Here, I'll show you guys how it works. Creates a sphere of radiation damage. Anything caught within it will receive radiation damage. Am I close enough to these guys? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, now they're taking radiation damage. That's what it does. And honestly, I haven't been super impressed with the amount of radiation damage it's been doing, even on a full EPG build, which this is not. So yeah, I'm not super thrilled with this one. Like, even on a full EPG build in HSE, I would think that this thing would do more, but it didn't, and I don't know why. And it really puzzles me, because I would think a big radiation AoE like this would perform a lot better than it actually did. I think part of the issue is that maybe it's because it lowers shield resistance instead of full damage resistance. Maybe that's one of the things that's keeping it from doing better than it actually is. Maybe if that change was made, which I'm not going to hold my breath on that, but maybe if that change was made, maybe this would do better. But honestly, I think it just needs to deal more damage than it actually does. Now, while the console I feel is a bit of an underperformer, the Starship trait, on the other hand, Hellbore Light, this thing is quite the overperformer. I ran this through a Jupiter Gauntlet just on this type of build, and the trait alone did 247k. And from what I'm hearing from other people testing this thing, that's on the low end of what this thing can do. Now, what this thing does is it applies a shield drain plus additional damage under the effect of Beam Overload and Cannon Rapid Fire, because of course Fire at Will can never get anything nice. So while Beam Overload or Cannon Rapid Fire is active, your weapons apply Hellbore Light to foes for 10 seconds. When taking directed energy weapon damage from any source, you drain their shields by 5% of their max shields. If your enemy shields are depleted while under this effect, you will trigger a 2.5 kilometer radius explosion, dealing a certain amount of plasma damage to nearby foes of that target. So basically, you drain enemy shields, and once you've drained their shields while you have Rapid Fire or Beam Overload active, you will just be dealing plasma AoEs to them all over the place, which is honestly kind of nuts. Now, I don't like single target builds, so I would much rather run Fire at Will over Beam Overload. So what I'm doing here is putting a dummy seat of Rapid Fire in order to trigger Hellbore, and then just keep using Fire at Will here for my weapons. And you can see here, there it goes firing off. creating those plasma AoEs. And yeah, this is a pretty great trait. Actually, that's putting it lightly. This is an insanely overpowered trait. Like I said, I managed to get over 247k on this thing just in a Jupiter Gauntlet, and I have been hearing people have managed to get way higher out of this thing. Like I heard Mara managed to get like 1,000,000 DPS out of this trait alone. So to say this thing is an overperformer is quite the understatement. Now, we know that the devs are aware, and Bordick has said that this is probably going to get tuned down a bit. And by a bit, I'm betting this is going to get buried into the ground just based off of, you know, history of Star Trek Online. I'd love to be wrong, though. I'd love for this to remain a a decent trait while not being stupidly overpowered like it is now. Because like I said, it's stupidly overpowered. If I know people want this to stay the same, it's not going to stay like it is now. That would be absolutely insane as it is. So yeah, it's it would be nice for this though to stay in some sort of decent state, just because like everything in this bundle has been low to mid in terms of just like general reception. Like a lot of people seem to be pretty disappointed in the Proxima based on its stats alone. Its Starship trait was also really bad. The console on it was okay. I love the theme there, but I really wish it did a bit more damage. It's kind of the same with the well, not quite the same with the Okinawa. Okinawa was a decent ship. We kind of wish the seating was a little different, mainly the spec seating. Okinawa was decent. It's got a really lame Starship trait, but it's got a decent console on it. If it weren't for the fact that the projectiles on the console are capable of destroying each other, they're way too squishy. They need to resolve that. And then here we've got a ship with okay stats, a console that is kind of okay that I really think should be performing better, and its Starship trait, which is just insanely overpowered. That is going to be nerfed at some point, but we don't know what that's going to entail. Is it going to get nerfed into the ground, or is it still going to be decent? It's just there's so many unknowns. But yeah, if you're looking at the ship just for the sake of the Hellbore trait alone, I'd wait a bit, because we don't know how that trait's going to end up being in the end. Okay, moving on to the visual review. Here is the Ranger skin on this thing, this is the revamped Ranger that we got about a month ago, which it's definitely got some points on here that are a bit different from the original Ranger. I think one of the biggest difference is the pod section up here. They really did quite a few differences there from the original. But yeah, like the other TOS revamps we've been getting lately, this one has been updated to use the Type 0A hull material. Yeah, it's a decent looking ship. I've never been a huge fan of the Ranger. Like, it's not a bad looking ship. It's just not, I don't know. It's the one that doesn't fully click with me. Like, if we're talking the TOS ships that still released for Agents of Yesteryear, I was always more of a fan of the Gemini, of those ships from that bundle. I always like that ship more. I wish that had gotten the revamp over this thing. Yeah, overall, not a bad looking ship. Like I said, the art team generally knocks it out of the park with these things, so it's nice to see that still being the case. Did this one get different nacelles? I didn't actually look. Nacelles, Ranger Beta. Yeah, this one did get the cage style nacelles. That's nice to see. I do love it when they have a chance to do that. What about the saucer? Nope, no saucer. The hull. Nope. Oh, those are just off the standard templates. So yeah, let's move on to Ranger 2 here. So yeah, this is the TMP era version. This is a totally new skin for this ship here, released with this bundle. Again, not a bad looking ship. I kind of feel the same about the original series version, is that it's neat, it's kind of quirky, it's just not something I want to main. Like I said, I'm more of a Gemini fan. But yeah, it's cool looking. I don't really have much more to say about that. Beyond that, it's just not totally my thing. I think we also got more nacelle variants here. So here's the standard ones. Here's the nacelles beta, which puts the glowing bits on both sides. A neat thing they did with this one is instead of giving this just like the standard Constitution style nacelles like they've done with a lot of TMP kit bashes, this one actually has the Shangri-La nacelles on it, which that's a neat that's just a neat add-on there, which I appreciate. They're utilizing more pieces that they can kit bash together, so that's kind of cool. And here is the Gamma version of the nacelles with the orange Bussard collectors there, if you like that look on your TMP era ships. And now the Stowe era version, the Warden. honestly, of the three, I think I like this one the best. Like, it's neat. Again, I still kind of feel the same way about the about it as the other two. It's neat. It's kind of quirky, but not something I'd want to main. But I feel like this one is probably my favorite of the three. Yeah, I think it's neat. I like the I like the torpedo pod up here. It looks kind of cool. I was also kind of surprised when I first got a look at it like directly from the front. I did not realize the bar angles up like this. I thought it was flat like on the others, but nope, it angles upward, which I don't hate because like if you look at the others, like those torpedo pods are dangerously close to just like clipping the top of the bridge there. This one is just like gonna hit you right in the back of the head on this one. So it's nice to see on this one they finally figured, oh, we should give the bridge a little bit of clearance. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. Though I will gripe about one thing. This is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine with phaser strips on a saucer section. I wish this was just one big phaser strip that reached across the entire saucer. I know they put escape pods in here to kind of break it up a bit, but still, like to me, breaking up the phaser strips into smaller strips like this, especially of a ship on this size, it feels like a step backwards because that's how the phasers were set up on the Enterprise C. They were smaller phaser strips set up in an arrangement similar to Constitution refit, whereas, there was a small strip in front, a small strip on the sides, but they were still strips to kind of give you an idea of lineage between the TMP era to the Next Generation era. But the fact that Ambassador used smaller phaser strips along the hull like that, and the Enterprise D used one big phaser strip, as did the Enterprise E, going back to these smaller strips like that feels like a step backwards to me, and it bugs me. So I really wish this was just like one big phaser strip. And really, Warden is not the first one to do this. There are plenty of other ships in Star Trek Online that have been doing that trend too, but I just wanted to take the time to rant about that because, yeah, it bugs me a bit. Not a huge amount, but it's enough for me to complain about it in a video, I guess. Other than that, though, I do kind of like this this ship. I like these fin sections here on the back. I like this I don't know what you'd call this, but looks neat. Yeah, neat ship, just not something I would probably be wanting to main all the time. So overall with this ship, honestly, I feel like a lot of the final opinions on this thing are going to be kind of up in the air. It's going to depend on how bad the nerf hammer is going to hit the Hellbore's light trait, because right now that is a huge overperformer and people are going to be having fun with that right now, but once that's dealt with, how well is that trait going to do? We don't know. And honestly, the console I feel like could use a buff because, like I said, I am surprised that thing did so little on a full EPG build. I ran that on my premonition build, and it did not do nearly as well as I would hope, as I had hoped, especially when you look at it compared to a lot of the other consoles I have on that build. The starship itself, like, it looks good. Like the skins are nice. If you're into this layout, I feel like you're going to be happy enough with this ship. I do wish the stats on it were a little different. I think my main gripe is that it is a 4-4 layout, which I've ranted about enough, not just in this video, but in this channel in general. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't like it enough to be like, hey, it's great. It's okay. That's about it. That's really all you can really say about this ship is it's okay, which is a shame to me because I really wanted to like this thing because it's a multi-mission cruiser. I have been begging for more multi-mission cruisers to be added to Star Trek Online for a while now, and for this to be the latest one, I'm just kind of about it. So yeah, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think down below of the Warden here. I'm probably going to be doing a video kind of encompassing my full opinions of the bundle now that I've reviewed every single thing now in another video, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, in the meantime, let me know what you think of the Warden here down below in the comments. While you're down there, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you'd like to further support the channel, become a channel member. Check out the merch store down below. Check out the affiliate links. If you're ever shopping on the Epic Game Store, be sure to use my content creator code STU1701. Any of these things really help me out, and I really do appreciate it. Either way, though, thank you so much for watching. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.